Okay, today is kind of a gloomy Saturday. Um, we just did a previous video about we were supposed to be harvesting elephant garlic today, but evidently the elephant garlic is not ready. It's still too green, so we're not harvesting today. And come to find out, there was a reason why we were not supposed to be harvesting today. I'm showing you now, this is the 5-acre field that's behind us. There's the house and the chicken coop and all that kind of good stuff right there. We own all of this. So we own everything to the tree line over there, plus some of the trees back there. We own everything to the tree line over there, and all the way to the little swale right here. And the farmer that farmed our field, plus the adjacent field, plus all the hundreds of acres that are around us, he passed away on Monday, and we found out this morning. And so I met him a few times. He was a nice guy, and so obviously we're sad about that situation. And so one of our neighbors was the one that told us this morning, and he knows that we were wanting to take our field over in the next few years anyway. So I guess now's as good a time as any to take this field over. So what I'm wanting to do is basically go through, and a lot of this is going to be for a nostalgic in the future, because I did a video right after we closed on the property of what we wanted to do for it, what we were thinking about doing for the property. And of course, I mean, except for the house and Andrea's mother's house being here, I don't think anything I put on that video actually where we have done or are doing. But to show you the occasion, I've even gotten my boots on, which I don't like wearing these boots simply because they're hard to get on and off. I like the boots because they're waterproof. I just don't like wearing them. So that's just a side note. So I'm actually walking in the field right now, but I am on the west side of the field right now. As you can see, we have deer extraordinaire that comes across through here. And where I'm going now is the south side of the property, near where the anchor point to the tower is. The tower anchor obviously is not on our property, but what we are thinking, and of course this is subject to change, is in the short term, this field has been farmed commercially for easily over 100 years. And it's probably been farmed commercially maybe 200 years or more. I do know that the family people that own the properties in this area, I do know that they have lineage that goes all the way down to the first census. So they have ancestry that goes back that far. So obviously they've been here for that long. And I'm trying to find, all right, so about where I'm standing now I would say is about where our property line is. It's about 45 feet from the corner of the fence right there. So that's where I am right now. So, and that's where I'm standing. And I know it's in the center of the swale, which is where I am right now. Now, I wanted to come over here because this is the highest point of our property. And except for a little bit area right in the vicinity right here, this is the highest point in the entire area around here. So probably within like at least a half mile, maybe a mile more radius, this is the highest point. And considering how flat we are, this is a very big deal. Because we're in a big watershed area, so even 6 inches to a foot means a lot difference when it comes to elevation height. So this is what we're thinking right now. In the springtime especially, and especially when they're doing their farming here, our neighbor said that somebody else is going to pick up the farming. So one of the other large farmers will nab all of this stuff here. So this field right here, the adjacent field, I think it's like 16, 18 acres, something like that. And then you have the trees there. And then on the other side of the trees to the far tree line, that's like 100 or 150 acres back there. It's a huge area back there. So it's definitely worth one of the other large farmers to come over here. I had talked with the farmer last year after he had planted his peanuts, and he said that last year he farmed 750 acres. So for a commercial farmer, I don't know if that's big or small. For me, that doesn't know a whole lot about commercial farming, that seems like a lot, but for commercial farming, that might not seem like a whole lot. And also, it depends on what area of the country you are. If you're in like the heartland of the country, like in Kansas, 750 acres might be chump change. But, down here, that might be a lot. But that was about the total acreage that he farmed. Now, he also said he didn't own all of it. That's what he farmed. And so he didn't say how much he owned. But anyway, this area, since it's so high, this is sandy. This is so sandy up here. This is almost like desert conditions where I'm standing right now, which means that hardly anything grows up here. He would plant his crops, so it'd be soybeans or peanuts or whatever, and they would grow a little bit, and then at some point they would just die out because nothing would grow. So probably, I'd say at least a half acre or so up in this area, nothing would grow. And in the springtime, we would have winds especially come from this direction, and the winds would just hammer us, and it would be like dust bowl conditions, and we'd have dirt devils and all that stuff come through. And we just finished that now because that's in like March and April. So what we had been planning on doing was put a greenhouse on the property. And so the property part that we have now, there wasn't really a whole lot area left for the greenhouse. So it was recommended for us, since we're in a hot environment, to have the greenhouse go north-south instead of east-west. So north-south is pretty much, I'm facing north right now with the camera. And so our greenhouse that we have right now is actually facing east-west. And so we found that information out after we had placed that greenhouse, but that greenhouse isn't meant to be permanent anyway. But where we were wanting to put the greenhouse, what we're thinking now is to put it on this west side here. So the west side, which doesn't really have a whole lot of growth potential, we can put the greenhouse, and then if we expand our garlic operations, we'll need to have support buildings and stuff. We can just put them along the side here. And then we could do that for a couple reasons. We could have it as a buffer. We could have everything down the side over here, and it would be good. Another thing we want to do is we have a residential well in front of our house that serves both our house and Andrea's mother's house. And then we also have a 1.5 inch line that I buried in the ground last year that goes to our garden, and that's perfectly fine for that. But if we start farming back here, the garlic's still going to need to get irrigated, and that well won't be able to handle this, you know, because there's a distance problem and there's a capacity problem. And so we were thinking about putting what they call an agricultural well in the field back here. And no matter where we put all of our support buildings and stuff in the greenhouse and all that, I still want to put the agricultural well in the center of the field area. So I'm kind of walking over here now. So kind of like in this area here, I'm just kind of eyeballing it here. This is kind of like the center of the area here. Now, agricultural well is similar to a residential well. It's just bigger. So we have a 4-inch PVC pipe. It's either 4-inch or 6-inch PVC pipe that goes down 250 feet. And then we have a submersible pump that's at the bottom that pumps the water up. That's what our residential pump is, our well is. The agricultural well will be similar, except it'll be like an 8, 10, 12-inch diameter pipe. And obviously the pump will be a lot bigger. And the purpose would be to get a lot more water volume up. So at the well that we have about 1,100 gallons per hour capacity. And the reason I know that is I needed to do that in order to calculate the irrigation system. Because they said you have to calculate the capacity and then you have to work back from there. And so basically that's how I was able to calculate how much, how many rows we could do for the drip irrigation, and all that was based off our capacity. And then we had to have enough water for us too, because if someone wanted to take a shower or run the sink or something, then they could be, or flush a toilet, they could still be able to do that with the irrigation system running. So I didn't want to max out the irrigation system where we couldn't even, you know, flush a toilet while the irrigation system was running. Well, if we have an agricultural well, then, you know, none of that stuff is a concern. So then we could be able to run that and be able to just have it be dedicated for agricultural only. Now, I don't know how well it is on the video, but I can see peanut husks and shards all over the place. That's because he planted peanuts last year. Now, what we're planning on doing, we went to the dealer where we got the tractor this morning to see about getting a spreader. We have a little AgriFab spreader, like one you could get at Lowe's or Home Depot or Tractor Supply. But that's just a little one. It could fit like maybe 50 pounds or something on it. And it's perfect that I could run on the back of the lawnmower with. But that's not going to work for this. One is I would go about 100 feet, then I'd have to fill it up again. But two, my lawnmower isn't going to work in this because it would get stuck every 5 seconds. The tractor would be fine, but the lawnmower is not going to work. So we were looking at getting a spreader that we could stick on the back of the tractor, that it could run that way with a PTO. And so they had two of them. One of them was a 300-pound capacity for like $550. And the other one was a 600-pound capacity, so it's double the capacity, but it was $100 more. And so I asked him, because they know what type of tractor we have, because they're the ones that sold it to us. And I said, is there any reason to not get the bigger one? And he said, no. He said the only reason people wouldn't get bigger ones is because they were afraid that they might pop wheelies with the tractor. But he said that to counteract that, you just have the bucket and you just fill the bucket with some sort of aggregate, like fill it full of dirt or CMU block or something, then you'd be fine. And I said, well, that's easy enough to do. And so we're looking at getting one of those. So what we're thinking of doing is planting buckwheat here. And buckwheat will grow good in this environment because buckwheat needs a soil pH between 5 and 7. And I know for a fact that the soil is between 5 and 7. And buckwheat grows well in this environment. The same neighbor that told us about the farmer, I don't know if you can really see it, but where the tree line is over there, there's a field in front of it. He planted an entire field of buckwheat over there because he has bees, and he wanted the bees. He was wanting to make buckwheat honey, which is really good, by the way. And it's a very strong honey. And if you think that natural honey is good, buckwheat honey is like the next level on top of that. And so he planted it over there and it went really well. And so that's what we're thinking about doing. And this just got cultivated like a couple of weeks ago. So as you can see, there's very little weeds in here right now. And it's actually been raining a lot lately, so it's not going to stay like this for very long. So we have a very short window where we can plant the buckwheat onto this field without having to recultivate it. So we can get a cover crop on this and not just have weeds grow. Now, the other thing with buckwheat is one of those crops that help repair the soil. Because this had been farmed for so long, this soil is pretty stressed. I mean, it's good enough to keep doing the commercial crops, but as far as the soil being healthy, it's not the most healthy soil in the world. So if we put buckwheat on it for 2 or 3 years, and then when we have the capacity to come back here and actually start farming back here, then we can do that. Then the soil can start getting repaired. So that's just food for thought. Then the other thing is there's a little cut through area right there, which I'm showing right here, where you can see that little house in the background. That was there for the sole purpose for the farmer to get his truck or get his equipment back and forth. Well, since the farmer's not going to be farming this field anymore, we're just going to let that go fallow. And so it's going to just weed up, and then pine trees will start growing in there. And then in 15 or 20 years, it's going to start looking like this. And then it'll be like nothing ever happened over there, which is perfectly fine with me. Now, on a side note, in the field that's beyond over there, Our property actually is in that field a little bit. By in that field a little bit, I mean like it's like a 30 by 35 foot area of that field. That field over there, I think, is like 6 or 7 acres. And so about 1,000 square feet of it is technically our property. We don't care about that. So if they keep farming that, I don't care. You know, the only other thing we could do is make them not do it, which would be stupid. So at the end of the day, if the farmer whoever the new farmer is, if they want to farm that, then that's not the worst thing in the world. So yeah, it was kind of good that we did not harvest today. The other good thing is it was not supposed to rain today, and it's been sprinkling the whole time I've been yakking on this video. So there's that. And we're supposed to be getting a whole bunch of rain in the next few days, but we shall see. So here's our new gate that we put in a few weeks ago, which actually we use quite a lot now since we have the ability to do it. So yeah, here's the field from over here. Now this field, going from right to left, it's about 525 to 550 feet long, and it's about 400 to 450 feet deep. That's how big the field is. And it's not exactly a rectangle, but it's pretty close. And so that's what we have to deal with. Oh, and there's one other thing I was wanting to say. Okay, since we're thinking about the greenhouse going in this area, from down here where this tall grass is up to the top corner of the property, I just checked on our survey, and we have about a 2 to 2.5 foot grade difference, with the back part being higher than the front part. And so Andrea has done a lot of more research on greenhouses than me. So I asked her, do greenhouses have to be on perfectly flat ground? As in, do we have to go in there and grade this thing? Because what I was thinking is that we could build the greenhouse, and let's say the initial greenhouse was 20 by 60, but let's say we wanted to make it bigger in the future. And let's say we build it 20 by 60, but let's say in 10 years, we wanted to add another 60 feet to it, make it 20 by 120. But the grade is a little bit different. You know, is that going to mess us up? Andrea's short answer was no. She said that what they do is the top of the greenhouse stays plumb, stays the same height, and the bottom of the greenhouse would just get taller if the grade goes down. And so just like it would on a house that has a slope around it. And so so that makes sense. So that's good. And so it's just with 2 to 2.5 feet, that's not really a whole lot of grade difference. And so, you know, one thing that we'll have to decide. Now the greenhouse is going to be probably still another couple years off. Of course, I say that now, but you know, then we're talking about, do we start here and start working back towards that way potentially at the future, or do we start at the top, work our way this way? So, you know, that's just food for thought. Me, I would rather have it be on this end and go back, but this is also the lower end, and then we would have to make that compensation for it. But that's something that we'll just, we'll have time. We're not going to be building the greenhouse right now, so I'm not really too concerned about it. But anyway, sorry for the happenstance of how we got to this situation. But honestly, this is something we had been really talking about for the last few months is, you know, when were we going to take over this field? Because honestly, right now we have the capability to do it. We have a tractor. We have a brush hog on the tractor. So even if we did nothing and just let it go completely fallow, I can be able to mow this. So yeah, we have the capability to do it, because the problem is if we let it go fallow and did not mow it, within 5 years, pine trees will start popping up, and those pine trees will get big enough that you would not be able to get them with a brush hog. And within 10 years, those pine trees will be 15 feet tall, and they'll be spread like every 6 inches or something. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And within 30 years, 20 to 30 years, it looks like that. Because that tree line right there in 1992 was field. Because the property that we're on right now used to be the same property as where the tower is. And the county bought that in 1992. And this whole part that I'm showing right now, tree-wise, was field. And so when the county actually bought it, they obviously let it go fallow. And so all those trees and everything, that's what naturally produced. They didn't do anything to it. They just let nature take over. So that's how aggressive tree growth is in this area. And so you have to be very vigilant in keeping the farmland, because otherwise it turns into that. Now, you could go in there if the county decided to remove the tower and everything, and then, like, let's say we bought it again, we could go in there and clear all that stuff and turn it back into farmland. But just imagine how much that would cost in order to do that. So that's why we want to stay on top of it. So yeah, we've inherited our 5 acres back, under a situation I didn't really want, but nonetheless, here we are. So I guess as we do stuff to this, I guess this gets added to the ongoing list of everything else we got to do. So fun time being in the rural life.